Hello and welcome, I'm Nate542 and in this video I'm just going to talk about why I switched to Arch Linux. Okay, so just to go over a couple of bits, this is Arch Linux right now, and this is actually Plasma GDK, I believe, or GTK. This is a desktop environment that runs in Arch Linux, so it looks a bit more like Windows. You have the start menu, which has programs and stuff. You have the taskbar down here, which opens things. I've got two screens, so you can only see my first screen. But yeah, so you can see this. Open there. I can go Win E to open up Dolphin, which is a file browser. And I can go Control Escape to open up system activity. So in many ways it's very similar to Windows, except one big difference, and that is that it's running Linux or Arch Linux and not Windows. There's a lot of other differences behind the scenes. I mean, you'll understand, obviously all the software has to be different. I'm going to go over the good, the bad, and then I'll conclude why I switched to Arch Linux. Okay, so for the good, Arch Linux is faster, as well as many other versions of Linux as well, because they have less things running. The reason they have less things running is because if you run Linux, if you're on Windows, it's because if you run Windows, there's a lot of things running in the background you may not necessarily know about, keeping logs on things, checking applications, these kinds of things. That doesn't have to be the case on Linux. You can set it up so that it does that, but obviously that will slow things down. But the really cool thing about Arch Linux is everything installed on this machine is here because I did it. So if you look at the console down here, this is basically what you started with. You didn't start with not even Windows, you didn't start with anything, you started with just this on a USB stick, and with that you had to install, you had to partition a drive, you had to move stuff from that partition onto that partition to install Linux or Arch Linux, and then you had to install like a boot drive and all that kind of stuff from scratch. And then once all that was done, you had the bare bones system. You load back into it and you have this full screen, and that's all you have. And then from there you have to install network drives, the ability to connect through a network. You have to install printers, you install a GUI front end, so like Plasma, this thing here. You install all the programs for which run through this GUI. And then you end up with what you have customized out of all of that. Now there's loads of different user interfaces for this. There's this one, you have GNOME, you have KDST, and there's a couple of other ones that I've forgotten. But you have a lot of customizability in that, and that is what's really cool about this, is that you can literally choose whichever one of those you want, install it in, and then that is your system now. And you can do what you want with that system. Another good thing is I can still mostly do everything that I did before. Now before I was using Sony Vegas to edit my videos. It's been a bit of a learning curve. There's been a lot of sacrifices and a lot of things that have changed. Kdenlive is a video editor which is free, absolutely free, and it is on Linux. And this is one that is kind of similar in many ways to Vegas. And I think that's probably why I like this one quite a lot. It has a lot of useful tools, just like the other one. It has the effects, it has compositions and stuff like that. And the layout is very similar. And it was very easy for me to kind of pick this up and say, okay, I kind of know what I'm doing with this. I need a list of the shortcuts. And then obviously you go and find a list of the shortcuts. I've lost them now, but I'll need to pick that up before I edit this video. Once you get the shortcuts, you can then use them to edit the video, and it runs nice and smoothly through the viewer here, so there's no lagging on the video, which is very nice. The games do work, and there's other things as well installed for you to be able to get the other games. So I've got Lutris, which is a open source software for playing games that don't particularly work on Linux. So this has been quite handy for just playing Overwatch, which is mainly the other game that I play, other than the Steam games that I have. Steam does have a built-in thing now for this. So if you go to the library, I've been testing games that do work with Linux, so only games that run on Linux. So yeah, you can see quite a few games do run on Linux, and out of the ones I've tested, most of them do. I can't get this one to work, which is, this is a indie game, and I can't get The Sims 4 to work, which, yeah, I guess, it is a bit annoying, but, it is what it is. And, we still have Discord, so you can still talk to friends on here, and you can still do all that fun stuff that you would usually do through Discord. It's all accessible as it would be on here, and that is pretty cool. If anyone wants to join the Discord, by the way, I'll put a link in the description. I've not really had much interest around it, and I'm not expecting to have much interest around it, but there we go. I'll leave that out there. The third point I want to make is that it's completely customizable. So as you've seen already, this is console. There's several different types of consoles that you can get. I don't think I have any other ones installed right now. But yeah, there are other consoles you can get, and you can remove ones that you don't like, even if it doesn't coincide with the system that you've downloaded or installed. You got loads of different word editors, things like that. I've really tried to keep it bare bones on here and only install the things that I care about. But even system settings managers, you can change. You can get different ones of those. If you didn't like the look of one, you can look for a different one. It's easy to install programs on here once you know how. So on Arch Linux, all you need to do is sudo pacman s, and then say I wanted to install Tiger VNC. Just type that, press that, yes, and now we've got Tiger VNC installed. And it's downloaded it all, it's put it all into nice areas on the system. And now if I open up Start, I can go into probably Internet, and there's Tiger VNC. And then there we go. There we have Tiger VNC, and we can connect to the server that we choose. I want it to connect to my thing, so I do actually need to have this installed. So there we go. Now I have that installed. Now on to the bad parts about this. Obviously, as I've said, there's a lot of games do still work on this system. A lot of games still don't work on this system. And if they're older games, it's not so bad, because sometimes you can get emulators to kind of sort that out. On Steam, with the older games, a lot of them will run. If you go right click properties and then go to compatibility, and you can force the use of a specific Steam Play compatibility tool. So there's different types of Proton and Steam Linux runtime, and these are basically just things, emulators, or most likely wine type systems that will hopefully get the game running for you. If they don't work, there's not really much else you can do. If you have it installed on here, you can always try to run it in wine. That doesn't always work, but it's an option. Out of my Steam games list, I said it seems to think that 3/4 of them might work on Linux, but it also seems to suggest that only 1/4 of them are potentially certified to work on Linux. So there's a lot of movement that needs to be done there to allow for full compatibility with a lot of more games. But it's definitely getting there, and it's a lot more than last time I looked. And you didn't have the nice Proton system last time I looked, in order to try and help people play games that potentially wouldn't be viable beforehand. The other thing is, it is a bit of a steep learning curve. So in order to learn this, you need to know how to learn this. You can't always just pick up a USB stick with Arch Linux on, plug it into a PC and install it. You need to have help, you need guides. Unless you're an absolute Linux whiz, you probably will not know what the hell is going on as you're going through these things. And it's a lot to learn. It can be very rewarding once you do learn all this stuff, because you can help your friends out. You can do this stuff with your friends, which is kind of what I did. And I owe a lot of support. I owe a lot of thanks to some of my friends who really helped me through this. And it's a good thing to learn, because in the future, if you're going into the IT industry, a lot of places do actually use Linux. So you can move into different areas of Linux. You can learn different things here, and you can really kind of take it on as a career path if you really wanted to. And as with the software, the hardware is kind of similar in a lot of ways. A lot of product designers don't even think about Linux when they build their RGB capable devices. I have a Corsair mouse and keyboard. The mouse and the headset is also Corsair, and Corsair don't have a Linux program to like a Linux version of IQ. There is a different one out there. I do have this CBK Next. I've never actually run this before, so I don't know if it'll even work. The CBK Daemon is not running. The program will not start without it. Okay, so I mean, a lot of things do have this kind of thing. I wonder if you can copy that. Oh my god, you can. Start it once here. Here we go. So you can just do this. Oh, okay. Okay. Yep, that's different. So it's taken on the things from my mouse settings now, so it is actually as slow as it is on my Windows PC, the mouse cursor movement. So that's interesting. I've not actually tried this software before, so it was a bit of a risk, doing this first time right now, but there we go. Yeah, I mean, the hardware can be hit or miss. This one seemed to work with the mouse. It's not picked up the headset, which could be a potential issue. It hasn't picked up the keyboard, although I don't think there's any RGB you can do to the keyboard because it is just a blue keys. What else is there? I have a shuttle wheel which I can use for video editing, and that isn't. It says it's completely compatible with Kdenlive, but so far I've not really had much luck in getting it to work. And I mean, other than that, there's not really many other things that you have here. On other systems, you don't really get an easy to use way to switch volume in and outputs. In this one, you do. You get a really nice easy way. You can just click this tick box here, line out. You can click this one here, and it'll go to the headset. Or you can click this one here, and it'll go out through the Yeti somehow. I've yet to try that, but that's an option. It's pretty good in that sense. But without that, there was an audio switcher program which shows up down here, and you can use it to click around between the different ones, and you could give them customizable names. I preferred this thing just because it's built into the system, so it's a bit more. It runs a bit better, basically. But I did like the other one when this option wasn't available. Another thing to add is that if you can't program software, you might be left with outdated things. Sometimes a lot of these things are on GitHub. People will start making a program, they'll find out that it gets to where they want it to be, and then they'll just stop making it. If you don't know how to program that program language, there may never be another update for that program again. They may have moved on to different software or different hardware or different, anything. They might just moved on from that project, and they might not work on it any longer. And then from there, you can either split it off and try and make your own project out of it, if you know how to program that language, or you can, move on as well and try something else if there is something else out there. There is a lot of FOSS or free open source software. Not all of it is good. So anyway, in conclusion, why I switched to Arch, I wanted to learn something new. I wanted a challenge, and I wanted to customize something to the exact way that I wanted it. And this system allows you to do all these things. You can, I've got a Windows 10 system running in VirtualBox on here. So if I need a Windows type thing, I can run it through that. There's softwares that I can't run on Linux, such as Fusion 360, which is pretty annoying because I do really like that software and it runs so nicely through Windows. I'm dual booting this system, so I can restart the PC, boot back into Windows and do things that way, or I can run it through a virtual machine, and it seems to run perfectly fine through the virtual machine, which is great. I don't know if eventually I will switch to just pure virtual machine or not. I can't really say for sure, but it's potentially something that I might do in the future, because you can there's ways that you can push a graphics card to a virtual machine, so that virtual machine has a dedicated graphics graphics card, and then with that you can potentially run games and other applications, that kind of thing, at full speed without impacting your base system, and you can play all the games through Windows as if you were playing it through Windows. Another thing you can do on here, I guess, is trying to install Mac. I've not actually done that just yet, but it's something that I could do in the future. I don't know if I will do that or not, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. And yeah, if you guys want to know how I installed Arch Linux, let me know, and maybe I'll do a tutorial on how you get to this stage. If there's anything else you need to learn about this one, let me know, and maybe I'll do a video about that as well. I'm very much a software minimalist, so the less software that I have on here, the better. I don't like cluttering my computer, I don't like cluttering the desktop, I don't like any kind of cluttering if I can avoid it. I also have all of my most important files stored off system, so that if this one does mess up, they're backed up on a server that can be accessed by a different machine. So if this computer dies, it's not the end of the world. It's going to be a bit of a ball ache, but you know, it'll be easy enough to get over. And I mean, it's dual booting anyway, so I can just load back into Windows if I need to. But that is it for this time. If you guys need to learn anything from any of that, let me know in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. But that is it for me this time. Thank you. See you next time.